Good evening, everyone. I'm Valerie Mae Cinco, and tonight we're going to discuss the cross-cultural communication. Cross-cultural communication refers to the process of exchanging, negotiating, and mediating cultural differences through language, behavior, and values. Cross-cultural communication is effective communication across cultures and essential for success in international business, teamwork, and personal relationships. Cultural nuances in English communication. English, like any language, varies depending on the cultural context. What works in culture may not work in another. So there are examples of nuances: the tone and politeness, gestures and nonverbal cues, formal versus informal language. For the tone and politeness, in some cultures, indirect communication and using formal tone is seen as polite, while the other's directness is valued. The gestures and non-verbal cues. Certain gestures may carry different meanings across cultures, just like the thumbs up gesture is positive in some cultures but offensive in others. The formal versus the informal language. The use of title pronouns. For example, you versus sir or madam, and formality varies across the cultures. Next is avoiding cultural misunderstandings in workplace. Miscommunication risk. Differences in cultural norms and communication styles can lead to misunderstanding, causing frustration, conflict, or even loss of business. There are factors to misunderstanding: the direct versus indirect communication, nonverbal communication, context, and relationship. For the direct versus indirect communication, some cultures value being straightforward, while others may see this as rude or aggressive. Nonverbal communication, misinterpreting body language, facial expressions, or gestures can lead to confusion. The context and relationships. In high context cultures, relationships and background knowledge are important for understanding messages, while low context cultures focus on more explicit communication. These are the example of cultural misunderstandings. Example 1 is for the business negotiations: the high context culture and the low context culture. For high context culture, negotiations might involve long periods of silence or indirect statements as a sign of respect and careful consideration. For low context culture, a quick direct yes or no may be expected, leading to frustration and misunderstanding. Another example is email etiquette: the cultures that value formality and the cultures that value informality. The cultures that value formality, using informal greetings or skipping titles that can perceive as disrespectful. For the cultures that value informality, more casual communication is common and can be seen as friendly and approachable. Adapting language to different cultural contexts. Use of clear and simple language, adjusting tone and style, being culturally sensitive. Use of clear and simple language. Avoid idiomatic expressions, slang, or jargon that might be confusing to a non-native speakers. Adjusting tone and styles, the formal tone and informal tone. The formal tone when dealing with cultures that value hierarchy and respect. Use formal greetings and titles. Informal tone in cultures that prioritize equality and informal relationships. A more casual approach can be effective. And last is the being culturally sensitive. Show respect for local customs and values, and be open to learning from the culture you're communicating with. Key strategies for effective cross-cultural communication: active listening, ask clarifying questions, adapt communication style, be patient and open-minded, learn about the culture. Active listening: pay attention to both verbal and nonverbal cues, avoiding jumping to conclusions. Next is the ask clarifying questions. If something is unclear, ask questions in a respectful manner to avoid misunderstanding. Adapt communication style. Tailor your approach based on the cultural background of your audience. Be patient and open-minded. Recognize that communication styles and expectations may differ and be prepared to adjust. Last is learn about the culture. Understanding the culture, norms, and values of your audience can help you communicate more effectively.